Welcome back to On the Roll with Matt. This conversation is going to be a little more spiritual, a little more honest, and a little more personal. And I want to say this right from the start. I'm not a pastor. I'm not some great theologian. I'm just a Christian who reads the Bible, loves God, and asks a lot of questions. One question I keep coming back to is this: why do we blame God for everything? Why is it that when life gets painful, confusing, unfair, or completely out of control, we aim all of it at God? And I'm not saying that like I'm above it. I've done it too. For years, I did it because of my disability, because of the pain, because of the struggle, because of the things I could not change, because of the things I did not understand. There were seasons where it really shook my faith. And what I find interesting is that even people who do not believe in God still blame Him. Even atheists will say, if God is real, why would He allow this? And I think that says something. It shows that when people are hurting, they need somewhere to place the blame. Pain wants someone to answer for it. Pain wants a reason. Pain wants someone to point at. And because God is all powerful, loving, and above all things, He becomes the easiest one to question. But the more I have read the Bible, the more I have realized this. The Bible does not show God as the source of evil. It says God is good. It says the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. It says the devil is real. It says creation is broken and groaning. It says sin entered the world and changed everything. So maybe the better question is not, why is God doing this to me? Maybe the better question is, where is this really coming from? Because not everything bad comes from God. Some of it comes from human choices. Some of it comes from sin. Some of it comes from living in a broken world. Some of it comes from evil. And sometimes it is a mix of all of those things. That matters. Because if we blame God for things that are against his nature, then we start to misunderstand who he is. A lot of suffering in this world is caused by people, abuse, violence, betrayal, pride, greed, addiction, cruelty, neglect. That is not God doing evil. That is people using their free will in destructive ways. Then there is the brokenness of the world itself. We live in a world where bodies break, minds struggle, hearts ache, relationships fall apart, death exists, sickness exists, pain exists. That does not mean God is cruel. It means we are living in a world that is not as it was meant to be. And yes, the Bible also teaches that Satan is real. Now, I do not think we should blame Satan for every little problem. Not every bad day is spiritual attack. But I do think many people are quicker to blame God than to admit that evil is real. So, where should the blame go? Some of it goes to human sin. Some of it goes to the brokenness of the world. Some of it goes to spiritual evil. But I do not think all of it should be thrown at God. Can God allow things he does not love? Yes. That is one of the hardest parts of faith. But allowing something is not the same as causing it. And that difference matters. For me, I had to bring it down to something simple. God is good, evil is evil, and I need to be careful not to confuse the two. That does not mean I never question God. It does not mean I never grieve. It does not mean I never feel angry or tired. It just means I am learning that God is not my enemy. That is huge for me because for a long time, when I looked at my disability and all the pain around it, I put that on God. I thought, why would you do this? Why would you let this happen? Why this body? Why this struggle? And I still do not have every answer, but I am learning that bringing my pain to God is different than blaming Him for everything. The Bible is full of people crying out to God. Job did, David did, the prophets did. God is not afraid of our questions, but there is a difference between asking honest questions and wrongly accusing God's character. And I think a lot of us, especially when we are hurting, can do that without realizing it. The cross reminds me that God is not distant from suffering. He stepped into it. He did not stay far away from human pain. He entered it. He carried it. He suffered. He was rejected. He was wounded. So when life is hard, I do not want my first move to be blaming God. I want my first move to be running to Him, even with tears, even with confusion, even with questions I cannot answer. Because the truth is, we live in a world with free will, real evil, and real brokenness. But we also live in a world where God is still good. And maybe faith is holding on to that truth even when life hurts. Not pretending pain is small. Not pretending evil is not real. Not pretending we have all the answers. But still believing that God is good. That He is not the author of evil. That He is the one who meets us in the middle of it. That He is not the destroyer, that He is the Redeemer. And I am saying that as someone still learning, still wrestling, still reading, still asking questions. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having this conversation with me. If this spoke to you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thanks for coming back to On the Roll with Matt. Please like, comment, share this video, and I will see you next time.